Hello, everyone, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Ultimate Comics Podcast. My name is Nabeel and I'm one of your hosts.
I'm Josh, the other host.
And this is the podcast where we talk about Ultimate Marvel, an imprint of Marvel Comics that began in the year 2000 to modernize and reimagine Marvel and its characters for the 21st century. So they started a whole new line of comics such as Ultimate Spider-Man, Ultimate X-Men, Ultimate Fantastic Four, yada yada yada. Every episode, Josh and I will talk about a different batch of issues, just going chronologically through this era, talking about what we liked, what we might not have liked so much, what works, what doesn't work, what's aged well, and what does not hold up at all and has aged very poorly, and just the overall impact that these comics have on Marvel, in comics, as well as other media such as movies, TV, animation, yada yada yada. But yeah, this episode we're talking about the Ultimates Annual #2.
Yeah, a short one.
Yeah, because in the reading order, the next thing we'd have to talk about is Ultimate X-Men, and it just doesn't make sense to talk about both in the same episode. It's just a little too much getting mixed together, so why not just dedicate an episode to this one annual?
Yeah.
What'd you think of this issue, Josh?
Even though this is going to be a short one, though, to be fair, most of the comics we read are 25 pages. This is apparently 38, so it's like a longer issue, but it is still a single issue. But this is kind of the epitome of our podcast because I felt a lot of the stuff in this comic just made it onto Winter Soldier. Honestly, I feel like the Winter Soldier movie is the basis of the Winter Soldier comics and this issue, honestly. Like, those are the two bases.
It's surprising, to me too, because I think most people who've seen Captain America the Winter Soldier and who've read the original comic by Ed Brubaker and Steve Epting, they can see clearly how much influence the original comic obviously had on the movie. But reading this issue, I think you're right, Josh. I was surprised that it does feel very pre-MCU Captain America Winter Soldier, because this annual does spotlight Steve Rogers, Captain America, and Sam Wilson, the Falcon, in this issue, which is really exciting seeing the two of them team up because they're known for their famous partnership ever since the 60s. Captain America comics, although now Steve Rogers and Sam Wilson are both Captain America, so we call them the Captains America.
Yeah, really? Like Attorneys General.
Yeah, exactly.
Or the Stevens Seagal.
Yeah. There's more than one?
No, but like someone made a joke that like if there's more than one, we just gotta call them the Stevens Seagal.
I mean, I'm sure there is more than one on the face of the planet. There's some other Steven Seagal.
Do you know how many children that man has abandoned? There's probably multiple. There's probably dozens now.
God. You know, just hearing what I've heard about Steven Seagal, I'm not even surprised. He sounds like kind of an asshole, if I'm being real.
Steven Seagal is like legendarily, like you said, an asshole, but it's just funny because he goes like every bad thing you could do, he's just kind of done.
Yeah. Well, I heard he was also one of like the worst hosts on Saturday Night Live.
He is the worst host on Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, I just heard he was terrible. I remember seeing like the Bob Odenkirk interview when he talks to Howard Stern about it. I'm like, oh my gosh, like this guy is really wound up tight and takes himself way too seriously.
Al Franken, and I think he may have done this with Bob Odenkirk, had a SNL interview where he said like Nick Cage, who we just did an episode about, was the host of Saturday Night Live, and he said something so sexist for his planned monologue that he was taken aside, told him to erase it, and he apologized, which I really respect that if you were called out on your mistakes, he apologized, and he said, I must be the worst host ever. And Al Franken, who was on SNL at the time, not in the Senate, which is an insane thing to say if you think about it, he was like, no, Nick, it's okay. We just had Steven Seagal, and you are miles less worse than him.
Yeah, no one can be as bad as Steven Seagal.
I think in our generation of SNL, I think apparently Bieber was the worst one. Bieber and Kanye, but Kanye wasn't a host. He was a music guest.
Well, yeah, I'm sure Kanye, or Ye, was, probably one of the worst, if not the worst musical guest on there. But before we get to be a Saturday Night Live podcast, I think let's dive into what do you think about this issue?
I thought it was okay. I thought it's really memorable just because it seems to have been the basis, one half of the basis of the movie Winter Soldier, which I've heard some people debate as like one of the two best Marvel movies so far is Winter Soldier and Black Panther, and the people, always debate about which one's better. The Black Panther's the one with the Oscar, and Winter Soldier's the one with all the political commentary.
I mean, fair. There's plenty of political commentary as well, clearly in Black Panther, but yeah, I would definitely give it to Winter Soldier. That's my favorite MCU movie.
Yeah.
It's probably close between Winter Soldier or Infinity War. Although I could more easily sit down and just watch the Winter Soldier than I can do with Infinity War, because that's a lot to take in at once.
We are going to do an episode about your takes on the last Avengers movies before Doomsday and the CW comics universe.
Yeah, you want to do an episode on the DC CW shows?
I do. I want to do a retrospective of them. I'm not going to watch all of them because they made like millions of hours of them. But like, yeah, I do want to do a retrospective because every time we mention it once, you go on this like unhinged rant, and I'm like, maybe it's your turn to go on an unhinged rant. So I feel you've been on a few. You just edit them out in postscript.
Hey, let's be fair here. I keep in my unhinged rants. I'm unbiased. I know I'm the editor for this show, but at the same time, I'm not just skewing things in my favor. I'm not just editing out all the smart stuff you say and then editing out all the unhinged rants I go on. I don't just make you looking like a deranged fool.
You edited out the stupidest thing you ever said. You did edit out, though.
Okay, fine. I'll admit it on this show because we've got time. I did edit out when I mistakenly thought that Micronesia was a fake place. Because it just sounds like it, all right? It sounds like a comic book related place. It sounds like, the microverse. It sounds like it's fake, like you'd shrink down and you'd go to Micronesia. Little did I know, ignorant as I am, as a fool as I am, it's real. Micronesia is very real. So, again, apologies to the people of Micronesia that I might have offended.
All like 500,000 of them.
Yeah,
There's
sorry.
not a lot of them.
I'm sure none of you actually listen to this podcast, but that was my bad. There, I admitted it, okay? But if we want to do an episode on the DC CW shows, you have to at least watch like most of them.
I watched a bit of Supergirl. I watched as much of Arrow as I could. It used to be my homework show, just because I thought it was like fun and dumb at the same time.
Yeah.
I watched a bit of Flash. I heard Supergirl right when I stopped watching. It got even better. Like, cause Supergirl was always fun, but like I heard like they brought in Katie McGrath to play Lena Luthor, and there was like the shipping between the two. And then like Superman and Lois came out as a show.
Yeah. I need to watch that too.
And then there was like I know there was a Lois and Clark show in the 90s, and I think the actor for Superman is now a fascist now, or
Dean Cain, is an actual scumbag. Yeah, he signed up with ICE. He is an actual piece of garbage. Yeah, like.
And it's funny because they interviewed the actress for Lois Lane. She was like, no, he wasn't like religious or conservative or anything back then. He was just like a massive horn dog. So I don't know what happened.
All right, let's not add to your anti-horn dog propaganda. I don't know if that's the connective tissue there.
She said it, not me.
Listen, I believe Terry Hatcher. I also don't know if that's what she was implying was the connective tissue. But anyways.
I do think this Steve has kind of been a dick most of the Ultimate Comics universe, which like everyone agrees that like no, Ultimate Steve Jobs is the most dickish of the Captains America of all.
You mean Steve Rogers?
What'd I say?
Steve Jobs.
He's also a dick, but yeah,
Ultimate Steve Jobs. He's even worse than the real one.
Who do you think made the screens for Arnim Zola? Look, touchscreen.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he's like making all the worst equipment for supervillains. It's all on Apple computers and iPhones.
But that's also why all the villains lose, because it's all Apple.
Yeah, they used Apple Maps.
Well, I don't know about Steve Jobs' politics, but he wouldn't stand for some of Captain America's and George W. Bush's bullcrap.
Yeah, I mean, Ultimate Steve Rogers in like the Mark Millar Ultimate series so far has been pretty big downgrade from mainline Captain America, which is tough because main Captain America is just perfect, so it's really hard to compete with him.
Yeah. I mean, Chris Evans, I thought, did a decent job of...
Yeah. No, totally. Yeah. I think Chris Evans in the MCU as Captain America, he's almost exactly what you'd imagine comic book Captain America as. Yeah. But I think this one is different. This annual, it's written by Charlie Huston, so it's very different than what Mark Millar wrote. So I think the thing is when you pass like the baton between different creatives on different projects, the characterization tends to like shift every now and then. So sometimes the characters in Ultimate are depicted as a little rougher and edgier, and sometimes they're a little closer to their mainline counterparts. So this does feel, like you're saying, a little closer to mainline Steve and a little softer.
Yeah. I thought he was dickish because according to you, I misinterpreted the first few pages, but he is more likable. And we're just like 2 weeks past the 250th anniversary of July 4th, but I really liked how he represents what's the best about America towards the end, where like he represents the guy who's not prejudiced towards any race or ethnicity, and
Mhm.
You know, he was the guy who saved the concentration camps, and when the chance comes to do it again for different people, he jumps at the chance to do it again because he's Captain America, and he represents not what we are, but what we can be and what we
Yeah,
should be.
yeah, he's the best of us, really. He's the goodness inherent in the American dream, and that's what he
Yeah.
strives to be, and what people are inspired to be when they see Captain America.
If I was a New York Times columnist, they'd say Steve Rogers.
You can't help it.
I can't help it. Though Steve Jobs, in a way, represents the American dream. You know, like immigrant Arab kid adopted, becomes a billionaire, and then doesn't pay
Yeah,
taxes.
yeah, it's tougher to idolize him though, because he's a real guy, and a real guy who gets to that point, he's gonna do some pretty bad things.
Yeah, like not pay taxes, abandon a kid, get us addicted to phones on purpose.
Yeah, so
But I was gonna say, a New York Times columnist would write, Steve Rogers represents the ideals of the American project, but not what America is. But he
yeah,
represents what we strove to be, and
yeah,
were and
exactly.
could be, and were at our best moments, and never are at our worst moments.
Damn, that's true.
Yeah.
100% snaps all around.
Where's my Pulitzer, man?
Yeah, you wrote that.
I did write that based on everything New York. I don't know, when the 250 was coming, the Atlantic, New York Times were always going like, what is America? And they always kept talking about the American project and the American dream and the American ideals, which is an interesting way of looking at a country. Is like, it's a project and it's based on an ideal.
Yeah,
Yeah, and Steve Rogers is representative. He is just a kid from Brooklyn. But
that's
when
true.
given powers, he doesn't become more of a dick, except maybe in this universe. He
Yeah,
becomes better, a better
yeah, that's
person.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah,
As,
the power just amplifies the goodness within him.
yeah, power doesn't corrupt or make you better. It reveals who you are deep down.
Yep, that's right. An
Yeah.
idea that we've repeated several times throughout this podcast. It's just a
Yeah.
recurring theme from the Ultimate Universe.
Mm-hmm.
And this issue starts Ultimate's annual #2 with Steve Rogers helping with the cleanup in New York City following the ending of the Ultimates 2 with the giant invasion by the Liberators. And then,
Yeah.
of course, as he's doing this, then there's like a debate going on from the news that's playing as he's lifting up the rubble and looking for survivors. And it's just this very unhinged, far right Fox News rant about why is all the cleanup being done in New York City?
And the cities.
Yeah, exactly. Like, why is it not being done in DC and the nation's capital or whatever? And so,
I will say it's not a far right thing. Ever since I was a kid, that's what all the conservative news and all the country say is like, why do we always help them urbanites who are interested in gay stuff like theater and books? Why don't they help the real people?
Yeah, the salt of the earth.
Yeah, I never understood that because I'm like, don't all the people live in the cities? Not that like rural people don't deserve help or anything. Like they deserve stuff, but like, why are you guys so hateful of the city?
Yeah, it's like quality of life is so much better in the country. The city is dirty and filthy and congested.
Yeah.
And the commentators going on about how, yeah, the country's in chaos and there's bandits roaming and murderers and looters. And I'm like, all right, but you got to chill out. We got to help the survivors and actually clean up the mess of this place and find the dead and bury them.
And we do find out that like there is some truth in that like good chunks apparently of the rural counties are just under the control of warlords. And it was like really reminiscent if you like read like the fall of the Roman Empire or like the fall of the Chinese Empire, or even as we read the last Ultimate Captain America comic, like the fall of the Soviets, were like, yeah, the cities are fine. They're always going to be, to a certain degree, that's where the people are. But like huge chunks of the country, they go like, yeah, like police aren't there. The people are just stealing guns from like the local abandoned bases, and like there's a power vacuum.
Yeah, that's true. There's really a lot of cleaning up to do in the literal and metaphorical sense of the word in this. But also, then one of the debaters responds back saying, well, New York is getting the brunt of this cleanup effort because they were the ones who got the brunt of the attack in the first place. So of course that's where a lot of the focus is going to be.
Yeah.
And you see Captain America, he finds a kid was killed under the wreckage, but it's interesting because it's this kid who you can tell is probably a person of color. He's either black or just a general person of color, but he has this white on his skin, this white painted on.
Yeah.
So Steve touches his face and like it smears off. And this gives Steve a brief flashback to World War II. And you can tell because the art style changes. In the present day, Mike Deodato Jr. is doing the art and Ryan Sook is doing the art for the flashback. So you can see the art shift to like a couple panels of flashback where Captain America flashes back in his mind to World War II when he saw something similar to this, which we'll get to.
It's very 9/11 coded, with all these cops and muscular men digging like bodies out of the rubble in New York City and Manhattan, and you just get like from pictures back then, you saw like people just covered in cement and ash, and they're like they could be a person of color, they just look white because it's just flaky.
Yeah.
It just flakes onto your skin.
Yeah, it is very reminiscent of that. And I think, especially because this was just a few years after 9/11, that is still very fresh in the minds of the people, and especially people creating the comic too. So I'm sure that was kept in mind.
There are people born after 9/11 who have like master's degrees now.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it bothers me. It bothers me.
Oh my God. Yeah, don't tell me about that. That's horrifying to think
Billie
about.
Eilish is like 25 now, and she was born after 9/11 or something.
Wait, how can that be? She can't be 25 and born after 9/11.
She's old. She's 24, and she was like born after 9/11.
Okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah, I'm still bothered by it.
Yeah.
Oh my
you
gosh,
always bring up Billie Eilish when you talk about how you think we're old now. Like, what's
yeah.
your problem with Billie Eilish?
Nothing. It's just like.
Do you just want to be Billie Eilish?
No, but in college, I was like, why is this kid making such provocative music? And I said it to my friend once, and he was like, Josh, she's our age. And I was like, no, in college she was a kid. And she goes like, yeah, because in college, like, a kid is just slightly younger than you, but now, like, she's over 20, and the age gap has shrunk tremendously.
Yeah.
And I just had like a crisis of confidence, and I had to go to the toilet and just stare at the floor for like 20 minutes, like, no, the kid is like an adult now, my age.
Wow, Billie Eilish really got you like that, huh?
I know. It's like the scene in Big Fish where like that little girl he meets is like an adult of marrying age, and he goes like, no, what happened? It's like, something bad happened. It's like, no, like, I went on. I'm like, you got older, but I caught up.
Damn.
Yeah, I'm not happy about it.
Me neither, man. But then Sam Wilson approaches Steve in the wreckage and asks if he needs a hand. Falcon's telling Steve that the Quicksilver's saying that there could be some survivors around, but he's still looking. And then Steve says, yeah, we have people to help out with the heavy lifting, but someone's got to look after the dead, which is a very powerful line.
Yeah.
And you also then see like a splash page of all these big superheroes from different teams literally lifting the Statue of Liberty out from the ocean.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of big ones, which I understand, like Iron Man, like all the super soldiers from Europe.
Mr. Fantastic is coordinating in the back.
Yeah, but what I don't understand is why is Storm in on this? Why is she lifting the Statue of Liberty?
She controls the wind and the waves, and she's also fit. Like, every time she's strong, she's like muscular.
But she's not like, I can lift the Statue of Liberty. She doesn't have super strength.
The wind
she doesn't have that. Yeah, I guess you could explain it that way, but it just sticks out to me as like, wait, what? Did you guys think you were going to be drawing Thor there and draw Storm instead? Because, like, she does not have super strength. Why is she lifting up the Statue of Liberty?
Yeah. There's also the scene where like Steve gets flashbacks of the Holocaust. He remembers, but there's also this moment where he's trying to sneak into a concentration camp or to fight the Nazis of some kind, and he asks a German kid, and the German kid helps him, and he says in German, "Thank you, soldier," and gives him a bar of chocolate, which shows who Steve Rogers is deep down. He's American. The Nazis are the bad guys, but he doesn't hate the German children.
Yeah.
And he recognizes their contributions to him.
Oh, it's a really good representation of Captain America, especially during World War II. He realizes that there are so many Germans who are fighting against the Nazis, too, and that just because you're German, that does not automatically make you a Nazi. And he, like, speaks fluent German to this kid. They're having a full discussion there, which is really impressive. And hey, I would love to just get a chocolate bar from Captain America. What a good reward. I think helping him would be its own reward, but he hands the kid a chocolate bar. I'm like, hell yeah. This is straight out of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. This probably made this kid's life.
I do like the thing that Captain America, in comics you always have these STEM geniuses, but Captain America is the liberal arts genius. He could draw, he speaks all the languages, he knows history, he knows maps.
Yeah. No, this guy went to school for humanities. I mean, what little time he did before he was drafted, but still.
Yeah.
Then Captain America goes up to the mountains where the little boy told him to go, and he finds this like horrifying sight of all these corpses painted white and being eaten by crows up in the mountains, or being pecked at anyways. And it's a really terrifying sight, but it also is very reminiscent from what we'll see in the present day too. Then we cut back to the present where Steve is sitting down in his apartment and he's just listening to jazz music playing on the radio.
He's going on a hinge rant about how lonely he is, playing solitaire by himself. He wants to cuddle someone. He goes,
All
I'm
right, he's
afraid
not
of...
saying any of that.
He says, I don't want to be alone in my bed. And then he goes like, I'm afraid of growing old by myself.
That's the song playing on the radio. That's not him talking.
I've misinterpreted so many things that others have said as Steve's internal monologue. But we know he's listening to it because he feels that way.
Yeah, you're like, and he's also singing about how he wants to cuddle people.
Yeah, exactly, because he's a horn dog, because he tried to sleep with the wasp, who was with someone else, or kind of...
I'm sure he did sleep with the wasp.
No!
They didn't show it on panel, but they were definitely sleeping together.
Isn't he, like, super old?
I mean, not physically. Physically, he's the age when he was first frozen in 1945.
Mm-hmm.
But then the news plays on the radio and it talks about how there's a lot of bodies coming up in the South.
Yeah.
And these are people of color who then are being painted white with this white powder.
Yeah.
And Steve is shocked because this reminds him of what he's seen back in World War II.
Yeah. And also, we got on the news, the cities are fine.
Yeah, the cities are fine because they cleaned them up. They wouldn't have been fine if they weren't given the cleanup effort.
Yeah.
I'm sure now they can dedicate themselves to rural areas.
Yeah. There's also what I really like. His shield's different. In the past, sometimes it's like the triangular shield, and he throws it against the wall and lodges into the brick wall, and he uses it as like a stepping stone to climb.
Yes. Yeah, in this flashback, we get the triangular first appearance Captain America shield, and the one we see at the beginning of the first Ultimates before he gets frozen.
You know what it reminds me of?
Mm.
That scene in CW's Arrow where Green Arrow does like the thing with the salmon ladder.
Oh yeah, the salmon ladder. Dang.
Yeah. I know.
That was really cool. I always loved watching him do the salmon ladder. Watching Stephen Amell work out on Arrow is what got me into exercising in the first place.
Wow, so, I did not expect that.
Yeah. Thank you, Stephen Amell, and thank you to Arrow.
I will say that Stephen Amell is like physically massive, and the people in that show were like ripped.
Yeah. No, I could never get to their levels, but like, hey, it was something to strive for. I was like, damn, that looks cool. He's doing the salmon ladder. He's like hitting stuff with a sledgehammer.
Yeah,
he's like shooting tennis balls with arrows.
Because that kid from Glee did more of the salmon ladders than Arrow ever could.
You mean the Flash?
Yeah.
Yeah, because he's got super speed. That kid from Glee. Jesus Christ. But yes, in this flashback, Steve is raiding this Nazi castle and taking out soldiers and stormtroopers and stuff that are posted up there. And while he's doing that, then you get to see the text on the pages that is Steve talking to Sam in the present day, saying like he's seen it all before and he knows what this is and he can't let it happen again.
Yeah.
And in the past, in the flashback, he's fighting Arnim Zola, a mad scientist, like a Nazi scientist who he did fight during World War II in the comics and in the MCU as well.
Yeah. And Arnim Zola, who is fighting both in World War II and now, explains, I was brought back by S.H.I.E.L.D. after the war.
Yeah. So you cut to the present day when Sam takes Steve to this computer that S.H.I.E.L.D. has that has Arnim Zola's brainwaves in the computer.
Which...
They're using Arnim Zola as this scientist. They've been using him since they recovered his brainwaves to like build weapons, really, for S.H.I.E.L.D.
Which is what they did in the MCU after World War II as part of Operation Paperclip, which is the real name for like the actual project to bring Nazi scientists into the U.S. government.
Yes.
In this case, S.H.I.E.L.D. Arnim Zola was recruited to be a scientist for S.H.I.E.L.D. and Hydra had him build a computer to put his brainwaves in it so he could keep developing strategies and weapons for Hydra.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so you can see inspiration for that here in this comic, because like in the main comics, Arnim Zola was really just recruited by the Red Skull and Hydra and just put his brainwaves into a computer, and he wasn't like working for S.H.I.E.L.D. or anything.
Yeah.
So this was an idea that seems like it took inspiration in this comic.
Yeah. And real life.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Arnim Zola in the past was doing these horrific experiments on people. And so
Yeah.
Steve is just pissed off and horrified because he's like, I thought you were dead. And he punches the computer screen, which also what he does in the Winter Soldier movie when he gets pissed off at Arnim Zola telling him about all this stuff.
Yeah.
Funnily enough.
I always wonder if Arnim Zola survived that, theoretically, when Steve destroyed that computer and then the missiles blew up those data banks. Oh my gosh, that's a data center!
Yep.
That's why they're building so many. It's Hydra, man.
But the Falcon then like takes Steve and like his helicopter to go find the people who are doing this. They have a tracker on the trucks that are people they knew from S.H.I.E.L.D. who basically took the ideas from Zola, the experiments back in World War II. They took the ideas, and so they're clearly people from within S.H.I.E.L.D. is the thing, who kind of went rogue and are now doing these horrible things to people of color. And Captain America's like, why are you doing this? For Sam, like, why do you care? Why are you involved? And Sam's like, well, I want to know who's killing all these people of color.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, it's an ex-Nazi killing a people of color. Like, I kind of am involved. Like, you don't get to be a white savior here, man. As much as you were affected by this and impacted by what you saw in World War II, this kind of directly affects me and, like, people I know.
I will say the relationship between Sam and Steve in this issue is a lot more antagonistic than it is in the main comics or the MCU, where in the movies they're very much partners. They're very much like genuine like friends. Like they hang out, it seems like, outside of work.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they're partners and good friends in the main comics. And I think I like how it's a little more antagonistic here, because a lot of this in this issue is Sam telling Steve, like, hey, maybe back off if you don't know exactly what you're talking about, because there's a lot of areas that you don't know about, like, especially when it's going to later come into, like, issues of racism and also stuff in the present day, and also, like, just generally how things are working here. We get into that when we see their helicopter is shot down by this missile.
Wait, was it a helicopter or a plane? I thought it was a plane.
Either way, I don't know. Their airship was shot down by a missile, so Sam spreads his wings and then lands, and his wings end up getting broken.
Yeah.
And these wings are powered by these AI-generated nanites or whatever.
Nanobots.
So, nanobots.
They're not powered by them, they're assembled by them. So if you damage them, the nanobots rebuild them.
Yeah.
Get woke.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's going to take more time for his nanobots to rebuild themselves into wings. So Sam's wings are damaged, and then Steve is barking orders at Sam, telling him what to do and pursue by air and all this stuff. And Sam's like, first of all, I can. Second of all, he's like, I'm not your sidekick. I'm not one of your ultimates. You can't order me around. Let's get that clear.
He also says, I'm not your NCO. Is the other one?
Yeah. Exactly, which is like, yeah, tell him, man. All right, stop barking orders to everyone who might listen. He's actually an equal in this operation here.
The other thing I find interesting, he says, like, I don't want to be one of your ultimates, and it kind of reminds me of the movies where Sam explicitly doesn't join the Avengers until much later, where he is like, no, even though the relationship is much more friendly, he is like, no, I'm Team Captain America, not Team Avengers. That's a different thing.
Yeah, that's what he says in Age of Ultron when Steve's trying to get him to join at the beginning of the movie, and he's like, avenging is your world.
Yeah.
Well, if you need me, I'll be there.
Yeah.
But then he does join at the end of the movie anyways, so.
Yeah, after, like, an AI, goes like, maybe we should just end humanity, and so many people die.
And he's like, maybe I should join the Avengers, especially because most of the team is leaving anyways, so we need some new blood here.
Yeah. Isn't Rhodey, like, wasn't revealed he's been an alien this whole time or something?
Don't talk to me about the Secret Invasion show. That was garbage. You mean when they're like, Rhodey has been a Skrull since Civil War, and you're like, are you fucking kidding me? That's bullshit. No way. The show is so bad, I don't even think we need to acknowledge it. It didn't happen. They grab a truck back, and also we find out, this is kind of gross, but like Sam's wings, they're controlled through chips in his brain, which is like, that's kind of disgusting, Sam. But he's like, hey, I don't flap my arms when I fly. Of course they're controlled by my brain.
No, I don't know why people thought this was cool back then. I didn't think it was cool then. I thought it's disgusting now that we're doing it in real life now.
I mean, it makes more sense than him literally, like, flapping his arms to use his wings.
Do planes flap their arms? You push a button. No, I'm against this brain chip idea. Ugh.
It's easier than pushing a button, though.
Did you get a brain chip installed? I know Boston has those, like, clinics now.
No, but I don't need to. I don't have any nanobot wings that I need to put a chip in my head for.
If someone gets a brain chip installed for like because they went blind or some medical reasons, I'm okay. But if you got your brain chip installed so you can watch TV on the subway, or you want to open your garage by staring at it for 2 seconds, why, man?
That would be pretty cool.
You
But
could do that now.
For this case, it's essential though, honestly, for his wings.
No, push a button like a real human.
Just have buttons in his hands the whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what Cyclops does for his visor. He pushes a button.
Steve on the truck has some outdated views on race. He goes like, "Don't you feel sad, Sam, about like the progress your people have not made yet or stuff?" And I'm like, "Oh, Steve."
Well, here's the first thing too, because Steve is like, "All right, see if you can grab us a truck back." And Sam's like, "Yeah, in the middle of Missouri, you will probably have better luck than I will." And Steve's like, "Why? Because I'm a different color? No way." And Sam's like, "All right, let's test it." And what's so funny, in the little next panel, they're like sitting in the back of this truck, and it's because Steve managed to get them a truck. And so it's kind of like proving Steve, because I think at first Steve is definitely in that camp, in that mindset of like, oh, racism doesn't exist anymore. I came from 1945. It's been 60 years. Racism can't exist anymore. And he's like, no, it actually still does. It is still very real.
It's just not as bad as it was in 1945.
And maybe not as overt and prevalent.
One thing I do like about Captain America is he represents the best of us, is that he is in a unique position for a white man to kind of understand, not just because he works with and befriends a lot of black and people of color, but also like he is a guy who grew up with like a lot of disabilities.
Yeah.
And to a certain
That's true.
Not everything, but it does put him in a certain mindset of understanding what it's like to be discriminated and just being the underdog.
And I think in this issue specifically too, he does understand the horrors of the terrible things that have been done to marginalized people and groups, especially with what he saw in World War II. You see him like go into that castle and see when you see Zola experimenting on all those different people in the castle, and you see like all the terrible things that he's doing. He's seen the horrors of World War II and the Holocaust. I think he understands how terrible a lot of marginalized groups have had it. So just from that, I think he can empathize and totally defend those groups too.
And Sam also catches him up on a bit of the history. He catches up on Nixon, the civil rights movement, says there were some real villains and heroes that didn't wear costumes. Sam calls them the real heroes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Which is really cool that he catches him up on this, because at first Steve is coming off as very old-timey. He's like, I don't understand you guys with your loud music with nothing but obscenities and swear words, and nobody understands what it's like to believe in God anymore. Like, everyone looks at me like I'm crazy.
I always found that weird because conservatives and old people tell me that. I'm like, I've been around like big cities. Most people don't look at you weird for believing in God.
Yeah. I'm sure that's a feeling that he has, and I think that's a feeling that a good number of religious people probably have, that is just an insecurity about it, because, I don't know, being religious is not as prevalent as it once was, being devoutly religious.
It actually is around the same as a historical. That's fun fact.
All right, well, get woke.
It only went up after the end of World War II. It went up a lot because everyone was a little traumatized from war, and then it went back down.
Well, it probably didn't go up after that.
Wait, what do you mean?
I mean, like, by the time that this is written in, like, 2005.
Yeah, it went back to its normal levels.
Yeah.
Most people have, like, a vague sense of it, but, like, only, like, 20% go to church regularly, which is, everyone has their own thing. It's a free country because of Captain America.
Exactly.
Yeah, but, this is what you fought for, old man.
Yeah.
The future is now.
But yeah, he still feels so out of place, and I understand how it's supposed to be written as he's a man out of time. But it does come off as he's this very old-timey, get off my lawn, kind of old man shaking his fist at the clouds kind of thing.
I think the problem with the idea of Steve Rogers comes from this idea of, like, oh, he is this white man who just had it easy with his white privilege. And, like, to a certain degree, but, like, Steve wasn't that guy. Because he grew up with so many disabilities and grew up poor, he shouldn't just have this idea of being written as a privileged white guy who doesn't understand. Like, yes, to a certain degree, he will never understand. But he is in a better position to understand. Just because, like, you know, they get stopped by a local farmer who asks them for help to beat up some criminals who are over the county line. They're allegedly the descendants of, like, the KKK movement. They are raiding National Guard bases for guns and killing black musicians.
Yeah, and what's so scary is how real this feels today, even. Neo-Nazis, and this definitely gives very Proud Boys, MAGA kind of guys, get your gun, round them up kind of thing.
Yeah.
And they've started their own little commune. It just feels like, gosh, this is a lot of far right Trump supporters, insurgency kind of thing.
Yeah. Hey, the Nazi Party's back in Germany too.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, it's not just America. The rise of nativism and populism
Oh.
across the globe, it's scary. And yeah, this old man who takes them into his shed and his farm and everything and is telling them about all this stuff reveals in an old photo that he did fight alongside Captain America in World War II,
Yeah.
which is really wholesome and nice to see.
Yeah.
They're like, you got any wheels we can borrow? And he's like, oh, well, this is my grandson's. He's in Iraq right now, but, I'm sure he won't mind. And so and they're like, you got any guns? And he's like, I got a couple old relics back here. So the next page is like them cruising in this very flashy, flamboyant blue cruiser with a flame bird on it and everything. And they were like, got like a shotgun. And it's so funny.
It's
Going
very
out to like get this group.
80s or 2000s code of like two guys. They're both of different races. They're friends or former enemies to friends, possibly lovers. They're going to the rural south and killing racists.
Possibly lovers. It's so funny.
Well, so a lot of those movies were like gay coded.
Yeah,
and we all watched it.
Do Steve Rogers and Sam Wilson have like that chemistry, you think?
No, but like in those other movies, you never know. Like you could just smell the sexual tension in it. It's like heated rivalry, but instead of hockey, it's killing racists.
Yeah, I would so watch that show.
Oh yeah.
Heated rivalry, but for killing neo-Nazis. This action scene is so fun, too, because Captain America just tosses a bunch of grenades at these jeeps that are full of this insurgent group, and then the Falcon gets his wings back up and running, and they get into this it's this Mad Max-style car chase / fight with this whole group, and it gets brutal, too. There's a point where Sam is flying at these guys on these jetpacks or hover cars or whatever, and he literally decapitates them with his wings. You see their heads falling off their bodies. It's insane. Then Captain America just rams the truck that they take over into the base where this signal is coming from that they've been tracking.
And Zola emerges.
From the wreckage, from the ashes, Zola emerges, and he's put himself in the body of this guy, Thomas Jenks, who is the SHIELD agent who ended up stealing his secrets for murdering people of color and doing the white dust or whatever.
Which, I don't know if this is originally from this comic, but it reminds me in Earth's Mightiest Heroes where Red Skull has... Oh no, it's from the comics because Red Skull has a red dust that kills people.
Yes, yeah, it is very much like that.
Yeah. I thought it was from Earth's Mightiest Heroes, but I don't remember. No, it's in the comics too.
Yep. That's right. And Zola is in the body of Thomas Jenks, but he's turned Jenks into this giant hulking super soldier, and it's got like the monitor with Zola's face on it, but it looks like
made by Steve Jobs.
Super soldiers. Yeah. Made by Steve Jobs, courtesy of Apple products.
They play both sides so they always come out on top.
Yeah.
That's capitalism, baby.
Yeah.
Oh, it'll be funny. It's in the middle of a fight, and it just stops to do an update.
It's like, hi, I'm a Mac, and I'm a PC. I'm like, the Mac soldier is way better.
Oh, I miss those ads back in the day.
Yeah, those were fun.
Yeah.
But everyone, all the troops in this insurgent group, they're all hiling Zola, which is terrifying because that is also scarily real. And Zola then sicks his Nazi group on Captain America. But at the same time, Sam releases a bunch of the prisoners they're holding hostage.
And it's a bunch of different people of color of all kinds.
Yeah, and before this happens, Zola is telling Captain America, I'm going to put my brain into your body, the perfect specimen.
It's always the thing where, everyone wants to take Captain America's body. Red Skull wants it to cure his disease, Dracula wants it, everyone just wants his body. For a lot of
these Nazis, too, they see Captain America as the perfect, ideal Aryan soldier because he's got the blonde hair and blue eyes, but he's also very anti-Nazi.
He also has all the disabilities they hate, too.
Yeah,
I saw the list in the first Avenger. It's all of them.
Yeah, he's already 1,000% against whatever it is you're trying to sell.
Yeah, but there's this great scene where the prisoners are about to attack Zola and the Nazis, and Zola asks what'd you do? And Captain America says release your betters. These people are better than you.
It's this cathartic moment where they release all the people of color, all these minority groups that come out and attack the insurgent group and fight back, and it feels so good to see, and it's such a triumphant moment.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. And the line he says is very good, like you said, Josh. That's fantastic.
And he gets a flashback to the Holocaust where he did the same thing with Jewish or other Holocaust victims when he released them on the Nazis, and he saw them hiding behind the wire, just like he saw these people hiding behind the wire.
What's weird though is after this, it flashes back to Agent Sitwell first approaching Steve about this original mission in World War II to take down Zola, which feels awkwardly placed because I'm like, why would you put that near the end of the story? We already saw him go on the mission. I get doing non-linear storytelling and all that, but this doesn't feel like anything we needed to see at this moment in time in the story. It just felt like, all right, well, we knew that stuff already. Why are you showing him being given this mission that we already saw him go on?
It's kind of my problem with some of these Ultimate comics is they do this non-linear storytelling, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, and you just get confused.
Yeah, and I'm like, sometimes you don't need the non-linear storytelling, especially because sometimes you just know exactly what's happened already. So like in this case, like we saw him go on the mission, we saw what it was about, we saw how it related to the present day. I don't know why after all this you felt the need to show him getting his mission briefing to begin with. Like we knew all that.
Yeah.
There's no point.
Yeah.
But in the modern day, they've taken everything down, but Zola is still online and he's still taunting Steve, saying another person like Thomas Jenks will get to me. I will always come back. And Steve ends up just taking out the antenna that's transmitting Zola's signal just to get him to shut up. And then it's a good ending scene where Steve and Sam are talking about what they're going to do after cleaning up this area. And Steve says he's thinking about, now we've cared for the dead, I think I'm going to care for the survivors, which is a really good pivot from the beginning of the story. It's like, oh, that's interesting. Now he's actually switched to focusing on the living. Yeah. And he asks Sam if he's interested, and he's like, yeah. And Sam's like, I'd be interested in taking the long way home. And I'm like, oh, are they going on a road trip? Are you guys going to go find America? What's happening? I would totally read a series of Ultimate Captain America and the Falcon just traveling on the road across America, just solving social issues or things like that.
It also represents a change of Steve. So far, he's been like a man stuck in the past, and here's embracing, no, I'm living in the now. I want to make a better future. I'm not going to look back on the past and not following others. I'm doing this good thing because it's now. We got to help people now.
Yeah, he's focusing on the present.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of like the end of Winter Soldier. Steve Rogers saves the day, and what does he do? He goes with the Avengers and starts cleaning up like the Hydra bases all across the world. And now he's going to do the same thing, but in America. And Hydra's not a thing, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's a cool resolution. And then I think Steve says something about how, Sam's bosses are going to pay for all this stuff. Sam says, true dat. And Steve's like, what? And Sam's like, never mind. He just does not get the new slang, which is really funny.
I am not going to say I'm a very slangy person, but like occasionally we'll say slang at like work from like when I grew up in LA, and people just don't get it. And then the younger kids I meet at different jobs will go like, yeah, and they go like, what's the word? Like, I'm trying to think of the word that like I just didn't know what they were saying when they first said it. I'm trying to think. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like when someone goes like, "You're not telling the truth," or "You're not like fully." There's like a slang for the kids say, the Zoomers say, and I just don't get it.
Yeah, I kind of get that too, because like I work with people who are a little younger than me too. It's like I'm later 20s, and I work with some people in their early 20s, and even then, like they'll throw out like references to like TikToks that I've never seen, or maybe they're just on different corners of the internet, or they'll say new like pieces of slang, and I'm like, okay, and I just have to adapt to that. And I'm like, dang, I am getting old.
I only know a lot of these like younger slang because SNL made fun of it, and they had a great line. It was like, I know what all the words you say are, I just don't know what they mean in that order.
Yeah.
Like looks maxing. I was like, what the is like maxing? Like what? You don't max anything except a credit card.
Yeah.
And you shouldn't do that.
Yeah, hopefully you're not maxing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know, mogging someone for the camera.
I don't even know what the is mogging.
Yeah, exactly. You slowly start to incorporate it into your daily slang. You start talking about crashing out.
That one has been around for years.
Yeah, that's been around for a while.
I know Unalive, not because of TikTok, but because Deadpool in the Ultimate Spider-Man TV show couldn't say kill, so he'd say like, I'll unalive this person.
I see. That makes sense.
So that's how I know Unalive before TikTok. So I knew Unalive before it was cool when Deadpool said it.
Damn. Watch out, everyone. We got a badass here.
I know. I'm going to Unalive you if you disagree with me, too.
Hey, no threats on the podcast. Not until after the recording.
It's not a threat. I didn't say kill. I said Unalive. You don't know what that means.
Yeah,
That's
that
some
could mean
weird.
anything.
That's Zoomer slang for God knows what.
I did want to point out, too, in the last page, there's this really fun reference to raising the flag on Iwo Jima.
Yeah.
Near the end, when some of the survivors are picking up the American flag and posting it up on panel, which was really cool. So
Yeah.
that was a fun reference.
Yeah. And also shows a lot of people think now the American flag is this symbol of racism and imperialism. And it could be again, and then it could be, and still is in some ways, a symbol of a multicultural, multiracial, multi-creedal nation that is idyllic because it's not based on like ethnicity or skin color. It's based on like an ideal that Captain America represents, except in this universe sometimes.
I agree. I think it really could mean more, especially if we follow the example of heroes like Captain America and just talk about inclusivity and fighting for everyone and representing everyone, no matter where they're from, what their skin color is, their religion, gender identity, sexuality, etc.
Yeah.
And that's my PSA. That's my after-school special for the episode.
Be like Captain America.
Yeah. Unless you're talking about Ultimate Captain America in the original Ultimates, and then maybe tone it down a little bit.
Yeah.
Don't work for George Bush. And don't disparage France with your references. I don't know.
Well, like 8 million people technically work for George Bush. Just saying.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, if that's just how times are tough, I guess you got no. But like, don't do horrible things in the name of stopping terrorism.
You hear it here, folks. Nabeel doesn't like government workers. He's gonna doge you.
That's right. I don't even know what that means. See, speaking of terms,
that was on the news every day when they fire.
Doge you.
That's like what it means when you fire a government worker, because like that's what happened.
I don't have the power to do that.
That's what happened to me, technically.
Yeah. Well, don't worry. I have no such power. I don't even work in government.
Yeah. Neither did the guy who doged everyone, technically.
Where did he work?
He was Elon Musk. That was like every day for like all of 2025 when they fired all the government workers.
Damn. All right. Well, I'm clearly out of touch.
Yeah.
Nope. Any final thoughts on these issues, Josh?
I did like this comic. I want to say it's actually necessary to this. Oh, who knows? I haven't read too much far ahead, so like I don't know how necessary it is to the story. It's a decent ending, and it's like a good way of spinning Captain America back into being more likable again.
Yeah.
Because like the other thing I think of Captain America, other than the Ultimate Comics, where he's a dick, is like that scene in Ultimate Spider-Man where before Spider-Man dies, he tells Peter Parker, spoilers, like, you represent what's the best in all of us. And that is like a less dickish Captain America, and I think we're finally getting, just like Ultimate X-Men, back to the original Captain America, the kind person.
Yeah.
The happy warrior, another American term.
And what?
The happy warrior.
The happy warrior. All right.
It's not exclusively American now, but it's like it's from FDR. He called someone a happy warrior.
I see.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think this is a good step in the right direction. I think it's a good epilogue to the Ultimates 2, really. I think it's a good character storyline for Captain America, showing him stand up for the oppressed and for the marginalized. I think it's a great team up for him with the Falcon and a good character showcase for the Falcon as well. And just showing the both of them like teaming up and taking down neo-Nazis. And it does feel very pre-MCU Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
Kind of vibes, like you said, Josh. So it was fun. It was really great. Yeah. And I think especially relevant, unfortunately, but to modern times and just all the shit we got to deal with sometimes with some groups that hate minorities. But yeah, next time, everyone, we will be talking about Ultimate X-Men again. We're going to be talking about Ultimate X-Men 72 through 74. And we also have Ultimate X-Men Annual number 2 to cover. So This is going to be a really fun one. But until then, everyone, you can reach us by email. What's our email, Josh?
ultimatecomicspodcast@gmail.com. That's comics plural, podcast singular, ultimatecomicspodcast@gmail.com.
That is right. You can email us about your thoughts on the podcast, comics we read, comics in general. Pretty much anything, and we'd love to read it on an episode of the show. And we're also on social media at Ultimate Comics Podcast. We're on Instagram, TikTok, and full episodes with video on YouTube.
We can see my hat.
Yeah, exactly. If you want to see Josh's hat, take a look at full episodes of this show on YouTube. You can also see the clips we post on Instagram and TikTok.
Yeah. And if you leave a comment or send us fan mail, we might read it online.
Exactly. We'd love to have a fan mail segment.
Yeah, we've done it twice, I believe.
Yeah, we've done it a couple of times. It's mainly just comments we get. We don't really get emails.
No one does.
Not these days, unless it's something really important.
Yeah, unless you want to mail us, fan mail, because we're like, we basically did this podcast in every major city in America now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We do it around the world, according to Spotify. So,
Yeah.
But until next time, everyone, take care and make mine ultimate comics. Bye bye.